You certainly
I
look
used to
like
drive
it.
Susan crazy because I'd always be crushing shove my stuff.
Certainly look like you are. If it's right.
Mine's off. Now mine's off.
Call the meeting to order. Right off the bat, we have a basically approval agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the agenda? Any motions? Make a motion? We're good with it?
A motion to approve the agenda is shown on the sheet.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Have the consent agenda. We have the minutes, and I am going to read down there. I know maybe at times it might not be necessary, but we have the minutes from 4/7/26, scheduled claims list, special event Touch a Truck, special event Bring Your Own, I Take It to Be Booze, 2026 Baldwin Golf Association, special event 4th of July, Baldwin Golf Association, special event Maple Leaf Festival, special event concert to raise money for philanthropy, Zedekiah Fraternity, and special event Baker Commencement. We good with the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
You have a second?
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Public comment section. This is where we allow the public to come up to the podium and present or talk or discuss anything they might have on mind. We ask that if you do approach the podium, that you please give your name, address, and then you're free to kind of enlighten us on what you have. So do I have anyone that wants to come up tonight and make a comment? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So we're going to go ahead and move ahead. And tonight we have special reports or presentations. And the first one we have up is a proclamation from Children's Advocacy Center. Would you care to come up and say something?
Mayor and city members, thank you so much for allowing me to come tonight. I have a few words to say, and I'm going to do my best to keep it super brief, so I wrote them down on purpose. I'm a speaker, like to talk, like some of us. Good evening, my name is Bev Turner. I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center that serves Douglas County. Our newest member was unable to make it tonight, but we have a new board member representing Baldwin. Her name's Haley Drescher, if you know Haley, and so we're really excited to have her join us. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, when we recognize the importance of families and communities working together to prevent child abuse and neglect. The Children's Advocacy Center of Douglas County, which we just celebrated 5 years, which is really exciting, coordinates the multidisciplinary team that responds to child abuse reports. Our MDT includes law enforcement, Department for Children and Families, the District Attorney's Office, mental and medical services, and victim advocates, all working together to support and improve the journey for a child and family when there is a disclosure of child abuse. These professionals work together in a collaborative approach that results in effective, efficient, and improved child-centered outcomes. The CAC provides a child-friendly, safe environment for the forensic interview, and that connects that family with specialized medical or mental health services as appropriate. I do want to share real quickly a few new things that we have in the last few months. We have launched an on-site trauma therapy program to better serve children and families by eliminating common barriers such as cost and transportation. This expansion significantly increases access to care ensuring that children can receive timely, consistent, and specialized mental health services in a safe and familiar environment. The program is staffed by 3 licensed mental health therapists who provide evidence-based, trauma-focused treatment to help children process their experiences and begin the healing process. This also continues our continuum of care by integrating therapeutic services directly within the center. So before this, we have been paying therapists in Douglas County to see our kids. So we did that for a couple years, and then it just got to be that we saw there wasn't enough specialized treatment. So luckily, we have a grant to provide that. And beginning next month, the CAC will further expand clinical offerings by implementing problematic sexual behavior cognitive behavioral therapy, it's a mouthful, for children ages 7 to 14 exhibiting inappropriate sexual behaviors. This evidence-based group therapy model actively involves caregivers, equipping them with tools to create safe environments, reinforce appropriate behaviors, and support long-term success. This therapy will be the first of its kind in Douglas County, which will allow our families to receive services in their home community. And all services provided by the CAC are free of charge. This month, we joined together as a community to recognize it is the responsibility of adults to provide safe, stable, and nurturing relationships that help our children thrive. I would like to thank Police Chief Patrick and the Baldwin City Police Department, who've been active partners since we opened our doors in 2021. And thank you, Baldwin City, for supporting this proclamation and recognizing the importance of a childhood free from abuse.
Thank you. We have a little proclamation here we'd like to read for Child Abuse Prevention Month 2026, April 2026. Whereas children are nation's most vulnerable members as well as our nation's most valuable resources, helping to shape the future of Baldwin City, and whereas childhood trauma can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects throughout an individual's lifetime and impact future generations of their family, and whereas childhood trauma, including abuse and neglect, is a serious problem affecting every community in the U.S., and finding a solution requires input and action from everyone. And whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children, and whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community, faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families, and whereas children who live in families with access to concrete economic and social supports are less likely to experience abuse and neglect, and whereas we acknowledge that in order to solve the public health issue of abuse and neglect, we must work together to change hearts and mindsets through storytelling and sharing, center the needs of the families, break down bias and barriers, and inspire action from expected and unexpected partners in prevention, and whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and family. Therefore, I, Mayor Gerald Cullenber of the City of Baldwin City, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Care to come up? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Bev, if I can say so myself, having been in the trenches for my career in working, if not dozens of hundreds of cases, and seeing the victimization of children, I know how hard sometimes that can be for workers such as yourself, because I know even in law enforcement at times it's extremely hard. Thank you for what you do. Please pass on, and thank you for your services. Keep it up. Okay? Thank you. Our next special reporter presentation is the pool report. Ma'am?
The 2025 pool report here for you tonight, and happy to field any questions. And in some certain situations, I'll give you a kind of an update on 2026 and what that looks like as well. So the 2025 pool season, we were open for 67 days over the course of the summer. It was a few days less than last year due to a couple circumstances. We had some weather at the very beginning of this season that wasn't very pool friendly, and we had some construction that kind of limited us that first week of the season too. So normally we're open 75-ish days throughout the course of the year, but 67 in 2025. With that, we had about 13,000, almost 14,000 people come through the gates, and that's combined with swim lessons, swim meets, everything. In terms of pool passes, the attendance for pool pass swim, general swim, was about 11,669. On average, so when I started in 2018, I started tracking, attendance at the pool and a lot of different, markers and things like that. But attendance from 2018 to 2025 is about 10,844. So the last couple of years, we've been ahead of that. 2024 was a good year, good high mark. We were at 12,234, so slightly below 2024. But we anticipate, 2026 to be right up there where we were in 2024, if not higher. Next slide, we did some upgrades to the pool this last summer. Many you might be aware. First there, in the entryway, we put in some new flooring in the breezeway, and it's a waterproof, what you call it, it's the speckled flooring. A lot of times you'll see that in garage flooring, but it goes into the bathrooms, the front desk area, as well as the concession stand. Baldwin City Recreation paid for that project because we knew the city was taking on a hefty chunk in the new pool basin project that was done by Jackson Pools. It actually finished up this last spring, so I know Rob and I have had a lot of conversation with Jackson, and we think we finally have that completed. It was good enough to get us through the pool season last year. They had to come back and fix a couple items, but it is ready to rock and roll for 2026, and it looks really nice, and we're excited to unveil that. The old surface, I'll tell you, if you want to slide back there, Hammer, sorry about that. The old surface that was taken out was a PebbleTech surface. It had been in there for probably a little over 20 years, so it definitely served its life. It began in certain areas to basically disintegrate, give away. So if you walked on the bottom in certain areas, it was very scratchy on your feet. And so we were able to take the entire surface out and put in what's called Pebble Sheen. It's basically the same similar surface, but a lot smoother, and so it'll give us a good 15 to 20 years as well. So long after we're all going to be gone, that's for sure. So it'll last us a long time. The next slide kind of indicates pass uses. So you can kind of see the different kind of passes we sell throughout the course of the season. We have a scan card, which is usually about 20 passes. So you buy a scan card, you get 20 uses out of it. You can use all 20 at once, or you can use them one at a time, however you want to do that, and you can refill that throughout the course of the summer as well. Family pass wise, we used our, in terms of family passes, we had the most uses of a family pass that we've ever had. So we had 3,490 uses. That is, again, is the most ever. So each year that's kind of crept up. So we anticipate more uses in the family pass this summer as well. Lap swim passes, that's the second most lap swim pass uses we've ever had. The most we ever had was 808 back in 2022. 883 back in 2022. Lap swim passes are basically in the morning. It's opened up for lap swim, for walking. A lot of senior citizens will come in that time frame and use the pool. So it's a very popular time early in the morning, and it keeps getting more popular every year, that's for sure. Pool parties continues to be a popular feature at the pool. That's about cap is 36 is where we cap it at. So we'll have the same number available in 2026. We do have some different time frames available. We found that we started offering some Saturday morning pool parties, and they were really popular. So we're starting to offer, I think it's a couple on Saturday, a couple on Sunday, for people on the weekends to use the pool for private parties. The weekends at the pool are actually a little bit slower than during the week, as a matter of fact. You think it'd be the opposite, but our Monday through Friday is really busy. Our weekends tend to be a lot slower, and so it's kind of enabled us to carve out some of those times for pool parties, which continue to be very popular. The next slide is our swim lessons. So as you can see, we continue to grow each year in our swim lesson participation, and really we were to the point we were maxed in terms of numbers. So, we're squeezing out a few more every year. But this year, what we've done, we were able to move the swim team to an evening practice, to a morning practice time that would open up some evening swim lessons, which are very popular. So we're able to open up 48 more swim lesson times in the evenings during the week. So we anticipate that number to be, in the 360s, because usually those evening swim times do fill up. And we have turned away folks before, unfortunately, when it comes time for swim lessons. We just, we only have so much time and so much space, so we can offer swim lessons, but we sure try to cram in as many as we can, that is for sure. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So throughout the course of the summer in 2025, and we will do so again in 2026, we offer certain special events. And so you can see this last year over the 4th of July, we did an event called Stars and Splashes. It was free admission. We gave away some food and had some contests, just some kind of family fun ideas that we do. We also had what was called Poolside Peace this year, which we partnered with Homegrown Yoga for a yoga activity at the pool. We also did a dive-in movie this last year. We showed the movie Moana. Those of you with kids know exactly what I'm talking about. That's one of my favorites, actually. So we had a good turnout for that. The movies are tricky at the pool because we have to keep the pool lit, because we still have to provide enough light for guards to see the patrons in the pool. So it's a little bit tricky doing movies, but they are a lot of fun, and we'll continue to do those things in the future as well. We also did a Christmas activity, kind of Christmas in July type theme, Ho Ho H2O. We had Kansas State Bank on site giving out beach towels, different Kansas State Bank apparel. We played Christmas music. We had a special guest there. Santa was at the pool this summer, looking a little thin right now, so hopefully it gets fattened up for Christmas. I think he did, but it was a lot of fun. People seemed to enjoy it, and we'll certainly do something like that again this coming summer. One activity that was really unique, the Battleship Cardboard Regatta. Our staff provided materials for teams to make a boat or a floating device, and those materials included cardboard, plastic, tape, things of that nature, and they were to create a boat. And the idea was they had to put the boat in the water, manned with people in it, and they had to row it across the pool and back. And I believe everyone made it across and back. And so we're going to kind of manipulate the materials this year a little bit to maybe make it a little bit harder for people. And so it should be a good time. So it was a lot of fun. I believe a picture of that even made it into the Kansas Recreation Park Association magazine this year. So a very unique program, and I think we'll probably add a few more teams to that as well this year. Next slide there. Yeah, parties and camps. So every year we do grade-specific pool parties. As you can see there, it's broken down to K through 2nd, 3rd through 5th, and 6th through 8th. We're going to kind of alter that a little bit this year because we were able to partner with the Education Foundation and the library. And so how this is going to work, so there's going to be one party, and if you register for the summer reading program, everyone gets to participate in the party. If you complete the reading program, then you are entered in certain raffles for prizes, food, and so on and so forth. So there's some incentive for the kids to enroll in the summer reading program, and not only enroll, but to complete the summer reading program as well. So the Schoolyard Splashes will look a little bit different this year, but by being able to partner with the Library and Education Foundation, we feel like we're going to enhance those events. As I mentioned before, private parties continue to be very popular. We average about 75 people per private party, and those are staffed with our guards and a manager on duty. And then summer camp continues to take advantage of the pool as well. Last summer, summer camp would come down 3 times a week. This year, we are going to add some additional field trips for summer camp, so they're only going to come down 2 days a week. But still, kids look forward to coming down to the pool in the afternoons, and it certainly makes it a lively pool when we have camp on site, that is for sure. The next slide tells a little about our swim team. We actually changed leagues here recently. We used to be in a league with Wamego, Ottawa, Topeka. I think that was it. And then that league kind of dissolved. And then we kind of swam internally for the last couple years. And then in 2025, we actually joined in with a league kind of in the Kansas City area, that, as you can see there, with Bonner Springs, Lake Quivira, Eudora, and DeSoto. So this league is has worked out really well for us. There has been some changes in that. We used to swim our meets in the evening in the old league, and now they are on Friday mornings, so that's been a little bit of a change for our community. But I think that people enjoy the competition with swimming against other teams versus just swimming with our own teams every week, which gets a little stale. And so we're happy to partner with those other communities. And I think we host 2 swim meets this summer in 2026, so we're excited for that. Next slide is community impact. We always like to put this in here so you can kind of see the number of staff that we employ. What you see there is total number of guards, safety instructors, concessions, so on and so forth. Some of those positions are one person may serve 2 different roles. So you might have a lifeguard, but who is also a water safety instructor. So those are just the number of positions that we employ. As you can see, wages continue to go up. That's nationwide with lifeguards. One, they're tough to find, and 2, wages continue to go up with guards as well. So, Lawrence might be paying $1 or $2 or more than us, Gardner, Ottawa. So we try to stay competitive with everyone in the area. So, I mean, if someone's paying $1 or $2 more, it's nothing to drive 20 minutes and go make a couple more bucks an hour over the course of the summer. That really adds up. So we work to stay competitive. We do have some retention bonuses and things like that we try to offer to keep staff. And for the most part, we do a pretty good job of retention. I believe this year we have 37 guards that we've already hired. We have 10 pool house staff. And so, our numbers have really gotten better over the last couple years. So we're excited for that. And the idea is too, you can keep those folks. If you can keep them all summer, they continue to come back. So I think Shaughnessy Wilkinson does a really nice job of keeping morale high at the pool, making it fun for the kids so they want to come back. And like I said, Shaughnessy does a really nice job. So I think a lot of those kids come to work for her. They're not necessarily coming to work for the pool. They're coming to work for Shaughnessy because she does such a nice job with them. You can go to the next slide. Community impact continued here. I think and I want you to recognize that this is a first-time job for many of the kids that work at the pool. So we're hiring, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids for the most part, and they've got a really important job. Their job is to keep people alive, fish them out of the water if they have to. When you really think about it, you think about a lifeguard, you slap on some sunscreen and you're there to get a tan, but that's not really the case. They're constantly scanning, keeping people safe. God forbid they'd ever have to, perform an actual rescue, but they're prepared to do so if that were ever to happen. But, we have a great crew and a great group of kids. In addition to that, we provide a structured environment for them. We're skill building as we go. They're interacting with our community, so we're building people skills with the idea is we're building the next group of community leaders. And that evolves from head guards to managers and so on. So by developing those leadership skills, really we're improving the quality of our community at the same time. All right, last page there. So in summary, we're only open 3 months out of the year, right? So it doesn't seem like a long time, but we impact a lot of people. As you can see, we had nearly 14,000 come through the doors last year over 67 days. That's a lot of people. Not only they're coming from Baldwin City, but they're coming from, we sell passes to folks in Ottawa and Gardner and Lawrence. And so we have some people in the region who swim in our pool. So it's not just necessarily a community amenity. It's sometimes a region amenity as well. So kind of as a recap, we like to hire a lot of high school kids. We usually get a lot of Baker kids as well. So with nearly 40 on staff and many of them being their first jobs, we're really providing, a great opportunity for a lot of these kids, like I said before, to become leaders, to earn a decent wage throughout the course of the summer, and hopefully a place that they enjoy and will continue to come back to. So we're looking forward to 2026. If you have any questions on the pool, I'd be happy to answer any for you. And there you go, opening day. Put it on your calendar, May 25th, 2026.
I have a question for you.
You bet.
So it looks like last year we
the pool closed August 8th. Is that right? Is that what I saw?
Right around there. Yep.
Has there been any interest at all? Not that I'm volunteering, but for like an older, because I know the kids go back to school and you're out of staff. Yeah, has there been any interest at all for for older folks to lifeguard and get licensed and keep the pool open a little bit longer?
You know, it's funny you say that. We actually have 2 adults who are guarding this summer.
Cool.
So I'm not to say that, you know, we can't, but we're starting to go that route. We're starting to get some older guards who could potentially stay later and keep the pool open a little bit longer, possibly. That's always been a goal of ours too, is to maybe try to stay open throughout the Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
But we just don't get the attendance on Saturdays and Sundays to warrant it. Because there's been some Sundays, like we're talking beautiful 85-degree, 90-degree pool days, and it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we've got 2 people there. And so we're looking on Sundays now as having more of a delayed opening, because when you're coming on Sunday, you know, it's church, lunch, and then you relax for a little bit. Then I think maybe late in the afternoon, people are thinking pool at that point. So yeah, it's a little different, but it seems to work for our community though, for sure.
Any other questions, comments?
And if you don't mind, I got a couple community center numbers I'd like to share with you, if you don't mind. So 2025 was the first full year that this building has been open. So I kind of wanted to give you some attendance figures and things like that. So if you want to jot these down. So for 2025, the community center was open for 316 days out of the year. We were open for a total of 2,886 hours to the public. General programming, stuff that we do, that we schedule, we brought in 6,155 people. Special events brought in another 1,327 people. So for a total, that's 7,482 people came through the doors last year.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last number, your final number?
Yeah, the final number was 7,482 people came through the doors last year. In terms of rentals, between the gym, golf simulator, and meeting rooms, and this includes practices, any sort of games we do, anything that BCRC schedules, we had 542 rentals. And in terms of revenue, it generated $6,875 in revenue. Any questions on the community center?
Thank you. Anybody? Very good.
All right,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.
Would anybody from the public care to make a comment in regard to that? Sounds like they're keeping it up. Good job. Thank you. All right, let's go on and move to the most exciting portion, the first quarter financials by Baker Tilly. Matt?
With a look at the fund balances. Right now, in the short term, city's financial position is good. The only thing that really concerns me is the fund balance in the general fund, as we've spoken about before, and 2 of your utility funds. You look at this, you can see that general fund balance is much higher than it was last year. However, I just want to keep in mind that per the policy, 15% reserve, which is, we take it year end, not, you know, end of first quarter. You want that to be, it was only at 320,000, which we'll see on the next slide is far below where it actually was at the end of or below the policy. The other 2 that we've talked about before, and I'm just mentioning it again. You have taken steps to correct water and wastewater funds as well, but they're also lower than we would like to see. Go to the next slide. So here, this is just you know, this little chart here shows what the month-end cash was this year versus, well, the first column should be 2025. Sorry about that typo. And then what it is this year, and then what 15% of the policy would be based on this year's budget numbers for each fund. So you can see water fund is below, wastewater is below, general fund is above, but again, that's numbers much higher than it will average out over the course of the year because you got your first big chunk of property tax in January.
Hey, Matt,
Yes.
which one of those two is 2026? I think
I just noticed that typo. So the first column is 25, the second column is 26.
that's what I thought. Okay.
I apologize for that. I'm redoing all of the dashboard and things, and there's little stuff like this that I'm still waiting to get corrected, and I apologize. If there's questions, we'll keep going. Look at some of our revenue markers. So this is the month-to-month comparison this year to last year for sales tax, or excuse me, property tax collections. Again, the first big chunk of property tax comes in January. There's usually a smaller in March. That's typically going to be things that were not paid on time that the county's just now getting around to paying out. So it's not going to be a really reliable number in any way. The next big chunk of property tax will come with the June distribution. And then the next slide is just going to show this year to year instead. So black line is collections for 26, red is 25, and the teal is 2024. So again, we're right on pace with where we'd expect to be this time of year.
So are we out of the 15% policy once you account for the projected sales tax as well as the March and June distributions? Or are we out just as we stand status quo right now without the distributions?
At the next Budget and Finance Committee meeting, I'm bringing basically a forecast that's going to show what we anticipate everything's going to look like at the end of the year. It's really that year-end number that we need to worry about.
Right.
We don't want to just take a snapshot 80 point in the year and say, no, we're fine.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, you want to look at what you're going to, where your fund balance is after a year of operations, a year of revenue, a year of expenditures. So, and again, I'll bring in a forecast that's going to guesstimate that. We've never really shown you that kind of forecast for the general fund before, at least I haven't done so yet, so I'm kind of building it from scratch. But what it's going to do is it's going to take in what we know we've collected so far this year. It's going to, and we're going to update it monthly with the rest of the dashboard. So it's going to, if we get higher than anticipated sales tax numbers, it's going to reflect that, and we'll make the year-end projection based off of those updated numbers.
Have you seen that number yet, the projection?
So based on this, it's going to be improved, just like it was last year, and it's going to be closer. But again, it's going to that doesn't take into account what decisions you make for the budget.
Correct.
So
Well, the reason I'm asking is because the last meeting we had, I was surprised that we were out of policy, and I'm wondering if we're out of policy just in this snapshot, or if we're in.
well, I mean, if you go back to look at that, I don't have it with me, but if we went back to look at the January dashboard, you would have the end of 2012 or the end of 2025 dashboard, you would have seen that the beginning revenue for January of 25, or the beginning fund balance of January 25 is much lower than it was for 26. We're moving in the right direction. It's just going to take time to get there, and until we do, it doesn't matter how much we know it's going to take 3 years to get there. Rating agencies, et cetera, are going to look at it and say, no, it's out of policy. So
with everything projected out, with the distributions with property tax as well as projected sales tax, would you think that we would be at that 15% at the end of the year?
I can't say either way. I mean, it's too early in the year to really say. I mean, if everything goes as projected now, possibly, but again, that doesn't take into account anything we do during budget season that's going to change that. That's going to totally throw things up in the air, because that's not, we can't account for that yet.
Correct. We're going out for the bond rating here shortly. I just want to make sure that we're at least in the ballpark and not 8 miles off.
Matt, we know what our property tax distributions are going to be. Those are
Right.
published. Those are not going to change, and we know where they're going to land. So you really can look at month to month, because they always land in January, and if you look at here, they always land in June. So we know what they're going to be. So what we don't know is the sales. So that's a given,
Right.
and we can see how they compared to last year. That's our biggest revenue, and then it's just the sales tax. That's a variable, right? We can see what that trend is, but our biggest revenue, we know what it's going to be. And so I think if they show us what the forecast looks like based on all these variables, then we can see what are they going to, what's the assumption for sales tax? Is it going to increase year over year for the year by X percent? Why?
Right.
And then it'll give us an idea of where we would end up. But, I think the message is that, I don't think we believe we're going to be at policy. We'll know more, I guess, if we get that forecast, but then it comes down to, because this year's budget's already set. I mean, we aren't gonna be doing a lot of things that we didn't put in the budget, right? Because it's already set. So I'm not sure that number is going to change much at all. We're going to talk about 27, which if we need to, improve where we're at in the general fund, we're going to do some things to make sure it starts in 27. I think the only thing we have left to do in 26 in a big way, other than doing some expenditures out of the general fund that we plan to and not doing them, I mean, that's really all we can do, or turning that 1% back on from the electric fund that we turned off. That's the only lever we really have for this year to improve where we end up at the end of the year. So just something to think about.
It is, and I don't mean to interrupt the presentation, but I also don't want to leave off on the note and forget. It's the same topic. That's what I just want to make sure of. That are we saying we're out of policy because we're taking a snapshot on April 21st and we're not calculating everything that's going in? It sounds like we're not. And to that point, it wasn't that long ago that I'm trying to resolve in my head, because not too long ago we were within policy. So what's the delta? What changed? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I'd like to resolve that before.
Yeah, I think that's really what we kind of need to dig into
Yeah.
and figure that out. I think what the message is we're not at policy at the end of last year.
No.
And that's really the last point where any rating agency is going to look at it. They're not going to look at where you're at mid-year. It's where'd you end up at the end of the year? Well, we're outside of policy. Okay. What's your plan to get there? Then you got to talk about the plan to get there. Here's what we're going to do, and here's what it's going to, and then do they have confidence that that's going to get there? And then they're going to look at the end of next year or this year and go, did you make it?
Right.
I mean, that's really as granular as they get. And we're trying to look it down to the month and try to figure out where we're at, and it's hard to do.
So if you look at this here, and you look at that 15% policy number for general fund, it's 656,000 and change. My quick and dirty projection is you're going to be, and this is assuming everything continues the way it has and your spending stays in line, and we continue to collect your city sales tax at about 9% more than we anticipated. That number will grow. The 320-ish thousand ending balance from last year will grow by about 150,000. So you're still under 500,000, which is under your 50% policy. And that's just assuming status quo for everything. That doesn't take into account emergency purchases. That doesn't take into account that sales tax takes a dive, which it could. Who knows what the economy is going to do? And sales tax is month to month. It's not you're not setting your revenue year to year like you do with property tax. Sales tax can change within a couple of months of downturn. You can see that number drop. I don't think it's going to drop enough to make a significant impact, but it could. So, I mean, again, we're still moving in the right direction. So it's just something we need to take into account during the during budget and address it then.
I think, if I remember right, 15% is about 550.
I think it's six.
It's 656,000 of
656 is 15% of
4 point,
operations.
4 point,
That's where I was going. So yeah, is it 15% of operations, or is it 15%
Yeah.
of the whole? Are we including other pieces of the?
Well, I think it is operations, but we just need to look at that.
yeah, we'll get that.
Yeah.
That'll be, and again, I would have brought this, I would have completed that forecast for tonight, but I wanted to have these kind of conversations with the Budget and Finance Committee first, so we'll have it at the next meeting. Yeah. Go to slide 5. So again, this is month to month looking at your the top is the city sales tax, the bottom is the county sales tax. County sales tax is basically flat. It's slightly down from last year. City sales tax is up 9% after 3 months, which is, good. This is the same number, just presented year to year. So you can go next one. These are smaller revenues for court fines and vehicle taxes. Vehicle taxes up. That number is more is less volatile than this makes it look like. It's just that those payments come in more irregularly than real estate property taxes do. So it's right on pace with where we anticipate it to be. And then court fines, I can't really say one way or the other whether that big jump from the early part of the year to now it may just be timing of how payments have been processed. I mean, I doubt your court stopped, collecting that high of a revenue month to month. I'm assuming it's just a matter of how when revenue comes in. Go forward. And again, this is just the same on a year-to-year basis. Go to the next one. So you see, the electric fund continues to, be in a good position. Still up 17% for the year compared to last year. The bottom is the purchase power expenses. Go to the next one. Again, that's just the same for cumulative through the year. You can go to the next one. Next, we'll have the water and wastewater revenue. Water's still down slightly. It's getting better. That should improve as the year goes on. And sewer is up modestly as well, about 2% year to year. And again, that's just the same, but cumulative. And finally, the refuse fund up modestly month to month. And going to the next one. And again, that's just the year-to-year cumulative number for that. And then final slide here is basically a operating statement for all of your major operational funds, showing revenues, expenditures, and then net surplus or deficit through the first quarter. So again, general fund up $848,000, but again, most of that is just going to be from your first big chunk of property tax, which collected in January. So, and you'll that gets spent down over the course of the year, whereas your more regular monthly revenues like sales tax are more regular. Like I said, short term, everything looks good. There's just the issue of the water and sewer fund and the general fund balance that are continuing, still below where we would like to see them be. But, we've talked about this and the steps have been taken to correct the utilities for sure. And we'll talk more about general fund as we go through budget.
Questions? Anyone? Just a real quick scenario, and I know people get tired of me asking this. 30 seconds, explain to the public the health of the city and where we are as far as our budget and the outlook for the average person to understand this, as opposed to looking at all the graphs and charts. In your opinion, through Baker Tilly.
In my opinion, steps have been taken to correct the deficiencies for your utility funds. We see it with actual numbers for the electric utility. Revenues are up. It was corrected last year. The steps you've taken this year to adjust the rates for the water and wastewater utilities will, in time, it'll take a couple of years to get it to where we're at that 15% reserve, but we know that's moving in the right direction as well. Again, general fund, as you see here, I mean, you're bringing in more than you're spending, and my estimate is you will continue to bring in more than you're spending throughout the year, but It is still not at the minimum policy 15% that we would like to see, but again, you're not spending more than you're bringing in.
Okay, good,
You're moving in the right direction everywhere.
good.
It's just that, you know, the reason we like to see reserves of a certain level is because we know that there are uncertainties with everything. And so we want to be able to pay our bills for a specific amount of time should something happen and we can't. If the city's held ransom with some kind of ransom software, if there's a natural disaster, whatever it is, we want to be able to pay bills, operate, and do the things we need to do to keep citizens safe. And so that's why we build in reserves. Also with the general fund, again, you know, you have irregular, you know, about half of your general fund is funded irregularly through two big payments in the year. Something happens at Douglas County and they can't pay you that June property tax disbursement. That's a $600,000 hole that you're gonna have to figure out how to get through until they figure that out. So that's why we like to keep reserves. For the general fund, 15% is probably on the low end. I would like to see that closer to 25%. But again, things happened in the past that, you got away from that, and so it's going to take time to work back to it, unless you want to hit everybody with a huge tax increase to do it, which I don't think your citizens want that. I don't think you guys want that.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions?
Just a real quick one. We say sales tax. Does that include all excise tax? Does it include liquor drink tax? Does that include?
No, that number is the. I'd have to look closer at the actual statement, but I believe that number is only the any direct sales tax, compensating use tax, which is sales tax paid for online purchases out of the district. So if you buy something on Amazon, that sales tax they collect gets coded differently to the state, and they pay it differently. But for your purposes, we include it all in one number. But any other special taxes will usually be included with the distribution from either a specific distribution from the state, which gets coded separately, or if it's something from the county, then it probably got included with the property tax distribution, which will have its own line item of a smaller amount. So
I know liquor drink tax. You get it's 10%, and you get the 7% goes to municipalities. The state keeps
that comes through a separate distribution from the county. It's I probably.
But it goes to the general fund?
Yeah, it's, I believe so.
Because if that's not plugged in here and sales tax is separate.
Mara, do you happen to know what the code for the liquor tax is? Does it go into general fund or does it go somewhere else? Do you know? Okay, I'll find out for you.
Liquor tax?
Yeah.
It's my understanding it goes to the general fund.
But it's not listed here. Only sales taxes.
It's a very small distribution compared to these major tax revenue sources.
But all other excise tax on tobacco, I mean, a lot of that is, it more proportionally goes toward the municipalities than it does the state and the county.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a small.
I'm just saying for the dollar amount that you receive compared to the other taxes you receive, it's a much smaller amount. And it comes in its own separate distribution from the state. I'll have to look into where it gets coded to, but it should be included here. It's a much smaller, well, that's part of the problem. I'm looking at the expenditures. Okay, Kansas tax is, so you have a budget of 17,000, almost 18,000 for the year, and of that you've collected 7,400 through March. So it gets paid on, I'm not exactly sure what the schedule is for those taxes being paid, but it's not part of the major property tax distribution you get. It's not part of the sales tax distribution. Those come in monthly, and this one comes in more irregularly.
Okay.
Like I said, I'd have to look at year-to-year numbers for it to see how it's performing versus the previous year. But like I said, you've probably got about 40% of what you budgeted collected so far.
The point that I'm trying to make is that there's other line items that aren't here. And even if they're small numbers, if you have several of them that maybe aren't,
Well, like, for instance, this, you should get the, when I send out the report, you should get the line item reports for everything. That show all the various revenue sources. And they are included in like this document here.
okay, that was my first question. Where are they included?
They
That's
will
what I was trying
be-
to say. I was just trying to make sure that they were all included in that sales tax.
It'll be included in tax revenue, or, excuse me. It'll either be other revenues or, I'll find out for you. I'll have to dig into the.
Okay,
the-
I know I'm getting in the weeds, but
No, it's not a irrelevant question. I'll dig into it, because I would have thought it would have been under like other taxes or something like that, but I don't have the. I have to look into how we sorted it out in our pivot table. I'm guessing it's going to be included in. I'm guessing it's going to be included in other revenue, but I'll find out for you.
okay, thank you.
Anything else? Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Is there any comments from the public? I think we're good then. Thank you for your time, Matt. The next special reporter presentation is going to be annual review of the Baldwin Golf Association. Paul?
Good evening.
Evening.
Thanks, everybody, for being here, try to give the mayor and the council members an update on BGA activities throughout the previous year. Normally, I'm here in, say, February, but just didn't happen this year, so I'm here tonight. We've shared our finances with you. It was probably in January, December, and hopefully you saw that, but if not, let me know. But generally speaking, 2025, our income was about roughly $55,000. Our expenses run not quite 40, and we consider about $16,000 of net income, which of course we reinvest in the course in terms of some improvements. A couple of things that we're working on is we're working to improve our tee box situation. We're running into some problems from our original plan, but we're still working through on that. So, but we will spend some of that money. Major expenses from 2025, and I just kind of highlight a few of these just to give you an idea of the operational expenses out there. Obviously, we buy supplies for things like the July 4th celebration, building supplies through our arrangement with the Rec Commission, which I'll get in a little bit further down the road, maintenance on greens, and then in our income situation, our sponsorships, our member fees, everything basically that comes through the door as income, we do pay state taxes on. So that's about in 2025, that was almost $6,000. So we do pay that. We've got obviously mowing and fuel expenses. That was just over $7,000 in 2025. City lease was $4,000, and we were able to renew that in 2025. So we appreciate everybody's efforts on that. And then one expense that we continue to be very proud of is giving a couple of scholarships back to the high school. We were able to give two $1,000 scholarships for the past 2 or 3 years. We've done that, maybe even longer now, but so we are proud of that. So not everybody knows we do that, so I like to take a moment and just mention that. In terms of our members and our rates and those kinds of things, we've held our member fee at a very reasonable amount for as long as many people can remember. It's $150 for a family membership. Our current corporate rate is $250. And if you're a first timer out there, and that's an annual fee. If you're a first timer out there, you've never been a member, it's half of the individual. It's $75 for that first year, so you can come out, golf as much as you want. We try to let people know that because people come out there and they see the member or the honor slot we have on the side of the building, and it's $10 a whack, and they figure out, geez, if I knew I could be a member for $75 for a year, I'd just do that. Anyway, I digress. But one area that we are going to increase this year is our cart membership rental, our cart shed rental. We're running into kind of a supply and demand thing where we need more cart space. And so we're gonna try it for a year. We're gonna raise rates $25 and see what happens. But anyway, that's all part of our financial equation. I already mentioned the city lease that was renewed in 25. We also have a small lease with the Rec Commission, and that basically covers the rental arrangement out there. For those of you that may be new to how that works or don't know, we work closely with the Rec Commission on renting the clubhouse for graduation parties, you name it, get-togethers, family get-togethers. We even had some people rent it for Thanksgiving. But the clubhouse is really nice. It's really an inexpensive option for a meeting place in Baldwin. We work with the rec office on that. They help us schedule it. There's a rental fee on it. And I want to say, I didn't write the figure down, but I want to say that was in the neighborhood of a $5,000 to $6,000 income for us this past year. So it's definitely worth doing, but it goes back that we got to keep it supplied and those kinds of things. But it's a great partnership with the rec office. We host 2 or 3 of our own tournaments out there, member tournaments, an open tournament. And then we also, there's interest from groups like the Call Valley Junior Golf Association has a tournament out there once, sometimes twice a year. You may not think they would want to do that on a sand green, but it's a place to play, and it's local. And so we have some of that. Through the rec office, there's junior golf programs. There's what they call snag golf for younger kids, which is, I believe, Jake could help me, starting new at golf, snag, something like that. Okay, so anyway, we're happy to have those people on the grounds. And I wanted to give you one of the things that in the last 5, 6, 7 years we've really focused on is making sure that people have an understanding of how many people touch those grounds. It's 63 acres, and there's some people in the community that may believe it's just a place where a bunch of people gather on Wednesday night to golf, and that's the extent of it. It's couldn't really be further from the truth. So when we talk about having cross-country meets out there, we'll have the estimate from last year is anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 participants in cross-country meets, whether that's Baker or USD 348, maybe even some youth races. 4,500 to 5,000 spectators at those events. Matt has probably given you the numbers from the 4th of July event, but we consider that to be a great use of those grounds, and that number was over 10,000 last year by all accounts out there, and we expect that to be even larger this year. We've been meeting regularly with all the people with skin in that game to try to figure out a lot of things for that event. It's going to be big, and then touch back on the building rentals. Matt talked a little bit about it, but he didn't talk about the clubhouse. That building was rented 223 times last year, and roughly 2,700 people associated with those rentals. So again, yes, it's a golf course, and we want to maintain it as a golf course, but it's green space, and it's a really valuable asset that the city allows us to lease, and we really appreciate that. Appreciate the help earlier this evening on the consent agenda resolutions, and so really, that's kind of the numbers as they were in 25 and what I wanted to share, but I'm happy to try to take any questions that anybody might have.
Paul, I might have missed it, but did you tell us how many members there are?
Oh, fair. I have it here and I didn't mention it. So in 25, we had 26 corporate members. And those are, we put signs up and that kind of thing. Had 105 individual members. And of that, 20 were new. And then here's a number that I really enjoy sharing. Over 25 weeks of play, and consider starting in late April, we averaged 54.5 players a night on league night, which is Wednesday night. So, and then Steve Wilson keeps these numbers for us. It's crazy, but one stat he always gives us every year is there were 151 unique players out there. And none of those numbers include walk-ons that nobody even knows about. So, and the attendance figures don't either. But we do have an honor box out there, a slot on the side of the building, and we continue to be amazed at the number of people that certainly do pay, and it's not people walking on the course and not paying. I'm sure there's some of it, but that was probably another, I want to say $3,300 to $3,500 out of that drop box over the course of 25. So anyway, that's what I got. Any questions?
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Public comments? Having none, we move on to the old business, and that's the lease agreement of the bullpen. So everyone's somewhat familiar. We, last council session, tasked our city attorney to come up with a new lease agreement for the council to look over and see if we want to adopt this lease agreement. So that's basically what we're reviewing tonight and looking at, and whatever else the council might want to discuss in regards to this agreement. So has everyone had an opportunity to look it over? Comments? I like it. I think it supports it. I think it's good. For me, it's a beginning to go through and professionalize our leases, to make them, I think, a lot more current and professional and businesslike, because it clearly spells out what expectations are for the individual who leases, and the city's part in providing that individual to lease whatever said building it is.
I only found one typo.
The same one I saw.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, where was the typo so I can?
Let's see. What have I got in here? It's not a big one. It's
I saw in section 13, while you're looking, last paragraph, the way I read that, where it
mine was
says,
in section 5, property insurance.
where tenant being not only solely responsible, shouldn't that be the tenant being solely responsible? Or did I read that whole section wrong? And that's just something to look at.
Yeah.
I got it wrong, just let me know, just leave it.
I can clean that phrasing up.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like if
No,
it
you're
didn't
right.
meet the requirement, then they should be solely responsible for those repairs, and it says not solely responsible.
Yeah, it reads weird. Okay, yeah, no, I'll fix that. Thank you for pointing that out. And you said there was another one on section 5?
Yeah. Thankfully, not one that would actually change the terms of the lease or anything. So that's
No, that's fine. Where's it at?
just says will be twice. It's in the second sentence.
Second sentence. Will be, okay. Oh, yep, okay. That's an easy fix too. Typos are nice. I like typos. Tell me, I can fix those. Those are very easy. It's on.
No, it wasn't.
Outside of the
Yeah, I mean, there's some, obviously, this is all about the numbers. I mean, this is a very comprehensive document. It's pretty, I mean, it's good because there's really no wiggle room. It specifies absolutely everything you can think of, which is not bad. It's just a big one to get through. So I guess I'm interested because it really comes down to the numbers. I mean, that's all this stuff is handles how you do things. But it's really what's the city want to do as far as charging for their property. And obviously that's not in here. That's the part we've got to fill in. I mean, so I think the structure's fine. I didn't see an annual increase on the base rate. I mean, that's something we'd also need to discuss, but that's not in here. Could be added. It's not in there right now. I guess I'm interested in, Russ, if you got feedback from any of the tenants on this.
I reached out, spoke with the EDC on this lease. They're the ones that are renting the old Public Works building. They seem to not have any concerns about this lease. I reached out to the other folks in the ice cream deal, but I have not heard back anything from them. I did speak with the Bullpen today, and she's actually in the audience. She had a couple sections that she had some questions on.
Is there anything you want to
Nikki?
share?
One, and then I moved to the other one?
Yeah, I mean, what's the concern?
Well, before we had talked about that it was major, and maybe I'm not understanding this correctly, but before we had talked about the major repairs, such as structure, electrical, HVAC, would fall on the landlord, and general maintenance, broken toilet, that kind of stuff would fall on the tenant. If I'm reading this right, it looks like I'm being charged for these major repairs?
So for it to be a triple net lease, the tenant would need, it casts a net of protection over the landlord, which would be the city. And you're trying to protect the city from unknown costs, which tend to be insurance, because that rate changes, taxes, that rate changes, and then maintenance, that also changes.
Yeah,
So all of that goes on the tenant. However, based on conversations during prior city council meetings, the council did want to not put the entirety of major repairs on the tenant. So I did some additional research to see what other commercial leases would do, and one of them was doing some type of tenant allotment. So what you would do as a tenant is, if you have a major repair, like your roof needs to be repaired, you would need to notify the city immediately. We would find the person who's going to be fixing it for you. And then you would pay at the first of the month after 30 days, you would include an additional first month's rent. So you would only have to pay a first month's rent towards those repairs. So if it's a $10,000 roof, you won't be stuck with the full $10,000. You just, whatever your base rent is, you would have to put that amount towards the payment of the roof, and we would cover the additional costs. So that way, if you find out the roof needs to be repaired on the 30th, you don't have to all of a sudden come up with 2 months' rent on the 1st. You would wait and pay that on the next rent. So that way, you're not paying for the whole roof itself. You're just putting, just the base rent amount towards the roof, and then we cover the rest.
Okay.
And doing some research, other commercial businesses, for their tenant allotment for major repairs, they usually base that off of whatever the base rent amount was.
Well, if we were to do this, I would want that building to be inspected first. I mean, I'm not just gonna take over a, 30-year-old police station and say, yeah, I'll pay $1,000 towards the roof. So that's definitely something that I would have to have done. I don't really like adding more stuff to the lease, but that's what we seem to keep doing. We keep adding more and more and more. I mean, if you guys want to inspect the building, we could talk about it then, but we'd have to do another 30-day extension.
Yeah, I think it's up for council discussion. I mean, it really is. I mean, if it was a triple net and, if we are covering the shell, which is structure and roof, right? Typically, is that not fully burdened to the landlord? And the other things like internal HVAC, hot water, I mean, those are the things that are not structure and not roof. I mean, is that, I guess in my mind, I kind of separated those out. Is that not normal?
I went to the Kansas statute, which is referred in the lease on what they would consider would normally be the landlord, would be considered the major repairs. And I defined that as the major repairs for this. And also, since the law does change regularly, I did reference that statute specifically. So if they do amend it and take stuff out or put stuff in, we'll be covered. So you don't have to keep going back and refreshing this lease, and the tenant's covered in case the law changes as well.
If I'm reading this correctly, would that mean if I had the plumbing underneath the building went down, the roof started leaking, the structure, so all these things, I mean, I could potentially have to have a $5,000 payment if all this stuff went at once, for example. Or is it, I pay a one-time $1,000 fee and I'm covered on all 5 of these things?
My understanding is per event. And that's why I think, we need to think about, and the way I keep looking at this is, what's the city on the hook for if nobody's using that space? And to me, I would look to put the risk on the tenants that are using it are things that we wouldn't have to do, things we wouldn't have to do if they weren't in there. And that, to me, that's the kind of the perishables, the HVAC. If we're not running it, it's not going to, or we're minimally running it, it's not going to go out. Hot water heat, those things are driven, their life use is driven by use, right? So to me, those are more tenants driving those and should be responsible for those. And I think a triple net, typically you are, and the city doesn't, or the landlord doesn't do anything. It's like, you've got all repairs other than the shell of the building and the roof. So that would be whatever goes out.
This lease isn't, the lease you guys provided me is not a triple net lease.
It's a triple net lease with the way to pay the property tax in, so it's kind of a mix.
It's just property tax. I mean, from what I read, it's just property tax and this new added maintenance. Now, I was already doing maintenance, but I read in here that the tenant is not doing the insurance on the building.
Right.
And that was the other thing with this portion. I already know that there's bad plumbing underneath the building. I know that because I installed a new bathroom, and we had that whole hiccup. We talked about this at the very beginning. But how my insurance works, if the plumbing underneath that's already existing plumbing, if that were to flood, and it were to flood inside my building, and I lost all my flooring, which I'm going to use an example, that's what happened the first time. my insurance covers my flooring. I don't have insurance that covers the 5 major repairs. So that would be on the building and the landlord. So if we did this, not only would I want it inspected, I would have to go get new insurance.
Understood. So I'm going to push back a little bit. My understanding is that first sewer issue was not necessarily the city sewer issue. It was installation, incorrect installation, and that's just the information that I had and got. So it's not like there was a bad sewer that caused the initial problem. So I just want
It's a collapsed pipe.
but was it the right pipe?
Oh, no, well, I mean, it was originally 50 years ago, but no, it
Yeah,
was.
so anyway, my understanding is that was not completely a city issue, and we can talk about that later.
Which is fine, but the city didn't pay for it, I did.
As you should have if it wasn't a city issue. So I just want to make sure that gets out there as well, and we can figure out what really happened, but I just want to let you know that my understanding was it wasn't necessarily a city issue.
Yeah, we went round and round. It was me, it was the city, and then we brought in the plumbers, and then we brought in an outside source and said, just tell us who's at fault.
Right.
And that's how we found out. It was actually the plumbers that were at fault, but I paid anyway.
So I guess back to the issue is really, on the lease. So it is triple net in my mind because with carve outs, so the insurance, again, we go back to how would our insurance change if it wasn't being used by an entity? It wouldn't, right? We pay like a umbrella for all of our properties. So if a business isn't in there, our insurance doesn't go down to cover the structure. So we're not going to charge any, it's not costing us anything to have a business in there, so why would we charge you for that insurance? We're already paying it. So there's no savings to do that. So that's why we asked to pull that piece out, because there was really no additional cost to the city to have a business in there.
Well, and I agree with that, because it's difficult with our
that's
building.
part of why it's not a pure triple net, because it's a city-owned business that we can't really carve out the insurance specifically for that piece of the building that we're already, so it's just too messy. So we thought we'd give the tenants a break and say, we'll just continue to cover it under our policy for the structure, which I don't know if that includes the roof or not. Russ, is that policy?
That's my understanding, is it covers the roof.
So I don't know why we would try to pass those repairs on to the tenant.
I agree.
If we're gonna have to do it anyway and our insurance covers it, so.
Right. It would turn into one of those situations where what are we making the payment or the tenant pay our deductible now, or so I don't think stuff like that should be included on it.
Our insurance is fighting each other. Who's going to pay for it?
Well, that's why we need to be very specific about what the tenant is responsible for.
Yeah.
Those major repairs, and I think we just need to list them out, and whatever's not in there isn't part of this plan to have the tenant pay a portion of the repair. It's kind of like a deductible. If it's a repair, if it's a hot water heater that is fixed with a $200 service fee, you're gonna take care of it, because in this, what's been proposed is it'd be your base rent, monthly rent, which would be $1,000 or whatever it is. So you're gonna pay it yourself until it gets above that, and then you're gonna say, no, okay, city, you're paying the rest. I'm maxed out. Here's my max payment. So you're right. If everything happens in 1 year, it's worst case scenario.
I'm very confused. So this lease says that I would be paying $1,000 if the HVAC, ventilation, structure issues, electrical issues, HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, hot water, and other definitions as provided by state law. So if any of those go out, you're saying that's what so if the AC or if the roof leaks.
We got to solve that one. So
Okay.
so that's a separate issue. I think we're gonna talk about that. Is that part of what we should include in this
Structural
policy?
should be on us. Structural.
Yeah, that our insurance already covers.
Correct.
We don't need an additional coverage.
And
So it's all the things other than the structure and the roof.
so, could I ask if you ask your insurance, if your insurance covers the HVAC unit? Like, can you ask them that?
We can, I don't believe we do. It's just,
Because then
it's just structure.
Doing that.
It's just coverage on the structure.
if we can outline that a little bit better,
Right.
then I can go to my insurance and have it covered.
Right. So let me give you the example of what you just described. So at least I'm clear and you're clear and everybody else can correct this. But the way I view this is if something goes wrong with HVAC and it's below your deductible or whatever that's set at, you're not going to report it. You're not going to enact the policy. You're just going to have it fixed. So if it's a $500 repair, it's not going to cost you $1,000 or whatever your monthly rent is. If it's above that monthly rent, you're going to say, yeah, that's the max I'm going to pay. City, you've got the rest. So just consider it like a deductible on
I'll
on a
check my
repair.
deductible then, and I'll find out what mine is. and
I'm just
see-
calling it a deductible, but that's how we're treating it.
Right, if my deductible is only 500, I'd rather pay my deductible than you guys 1,000, or, you know, if it's 4 years from now, I'm paying
Exactly. No,
1,000,
that's-
1,100 something.
Yeah.
All right, so I can check into that on my end, but this was a very confusing, section. But I'll make a note.
Just so you know, Nikki, this is just not bullpen specific. This is what we are taking to all city properties that are leased out by the city.
I know, I
EDC, all that, they're all going
gotta
to
be the
this right
guinea
here.
pig.
I'm sorry?
I got to be the guinea pig.
So, no, it's just,
Well, I mean, I am, I'm the
first one,
first one, so.
no, you're right in that respect. You're the first one.
So outside of that, well, I still wanted you guys to write off that late fee because I'm never there. and
It's not an issue. Why are you concerned about something that you say is never an issue for you?
No, I'm saying I'm not there the 1st through the 7th. Half the time I'll go in
I
and
thought you
turn
said
it.
you were never late.
Oh, no, I pay in advance. I'm almost always late. I mean, the bullpen, my employees, they run themselves, so it's just on the mercy of me getting down there and dropping. If you guys direct deposit, I'm good to go. Or if I could give you 12 checks and just sign them and you deposit them, I'm also good to go. I mean, like I said, I run 3 businesses. I'm not down there all the time to. Yeah, so I don't know if we agree to this, I don't know how I'm gonna pay ahead, do a lot of math.
Right. So again, we're doing this for more than just this property.
Okay,
We need to do it.
it's fine. I think they'll be okay. I filled in the blanks, so let me just go through the rest of it. Had some questions on the tenant must use a licensed contractor approved by the city administrator or city council. I wanted to know if we could also, that's section 12, first paragraph, last sentence, if we could also, like itemize that. As you guys know or may know, I want to take down a wall. I'm not going to hire a contractor to take down a wall. It's not a load-bearing wall. We've already checked that with the city. I took down all the other walls in the place. So is there a way that we could itemize that saying, yeah, if you're going to do like major electrical work, you have to use a licensed electrician. But if you're going to do a small repair or going to take out a wall and throw in this in its place, that I can do it myself as the owner of the business. And I just thought that was something we could sit down and just talk about based on what I did before.
I mean, I think
So with commercial property, you have to have licensed contractors on anything commercial property. I mean, that's according to the building codes. And I can have you discuss that with Pat Toff, our community development director, and he can go into more detail with that.
Yeah, because, I mean, the way this reads to me, if I want to restain the floor, I got to hire someone to do that. You know, that's how this reads to me. So I wanted to break it down and someone tell me, what am I responsible for? Or what can I do myself versus who?
Yeah, and Pat can answer those questions for you.
Okay. So I'll put a pin in that one. Everything else Almost. We fixed the structure thing. Okay. The waiver, section 23, where it says the tenant and landlord waive the rights against each other for damages such as a fire. Because we're connected, and I think this is a question for you, if a fire starts in City Hall and jumps to my building, like City Hall would be, like the city would be responsible for that, right? So this doesn't mean, hey, you guys started a fire over there, it burned down my building, I'm not gonna hold you at fault for that? Or am I misunderstanding that section?
Counselor, you answer that?
Give me a second.
No, we are, that's why I asked you, I think you can answer that.
So this is talking about, this waiver's only effect in terms of whatever your insurance policy or policies that have a clause to the effect in regards to the waiver. So ultimately, you're gonna have to look at what your insurance and our insurance say as to whether or not this clause is gonna be in effect. So this is just there to match whatever our insurance policies say, and if our insurance policies don't, this says it's only to the effect that this is within those policies, so we have to look at the policy. So I don't know what your insurance policy says, I don't have a copy of it.
Okay, I can get you a copy of it.
And then I haven't seen the cities as well, so I can't say whether or not this is in effect. This is just waiver of subrogation, just in case it's in both insurance policies, that there has to be a waiver of subrogation.
Okay. My prior lease says something different after our first fire. That's why, because we had a big battle with insurance. Who's covering this? Who's covering what? That's why I wanted clarification. So I'll just get you my policy and email it to you.
Yeah, I can't really give you any legal advice. I mean, I can look at it, but I can't really interpret or give you advice as to your business.
No, I have a great policy. I have a wonderful policy. I'm talking about
Which
for
the
this.
lease does provide that if you do renew, we will need a copy of it either way. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can send it to me, but I can't really interpret it or give you an advice as to it. Does that make sense?
It does, but
So
it
you'll
does, but
have-
it doesn't answer my question.
You'll have to review it yourself and see if your insurance policy has that subrogation clause, and if so, then this would be in effect. Because I can't give you that legal advice. I can't advise you as to whether this clause is in effect as to you. You would need to review your own policy, and then you can always retain your own attorney to give you advice what this paragraph means in terms of how it affects you and your policy.
Okay,
But we would need a copy of your policy on record for our
yeah,
file.
that's fine. I was only confused since we have a joint building, so I'll have to get clarification on that. Okay, number 25, early termination. It says, tenant and landlord may come to an agreement for early termination for any reason, provided that the request for early termination is written and made 180 days in advance. The council must approve any termination request and the payment and/or terms associated with an early termination. Well, what are the terms?
I mean, we're not gonna know unless there is an early termination request, and then the terms of whatever that early termination request would be discussed at that time. So say, for instance, you wanted to close your business, you didn't want to be here anymore, you wanted to go to another building that would allow you to have the full kitchen that you're wanting to have. You could come to the council give them 180 days notice, come to the council meeting and say, hey, I found another building that's more capable for the barbecue restaurant. I'd like to terminate my lease early. Then the council would discuss how they want to handle your termination, what the terms of that would be, if you have to continue paying rent, if they want to waive all future rent. I can't tell you what the council and what terms you're going to ask for at the time of termination, or same thing with the council if they ask to terminate, what they're going to be offering you. I mean, I can't predict the future. This is just in there just in case there is a need for early termination. Both sides can request the termination and come to an agreement, but the agreement ultimately would have to be between the tenant and the landlord, which would be the council. So you couldn't have an agreement with just Russ or another city member or the attorney.
Can we put that, I mean, I would need terms. Every lease I've ever had has told, so I know exactly, okay, if I want to cancel, I have to provide 180 days, I have to pay 4 months worth of rent, I lose my security deposit. I'm just using that as an example from another lease.
Right, this was gonna give you some flexibility, so if, for example, I know some other commercial leases have something in here that is ambiguous, because if a business does go under, you can't really squeeze blood from a turnip. So demanding that you give 180 days notice plus 4 months rent up front and all that other stuff. If you're out of business and you don't have any money, you're out of business. You don't have any money.
Yeah.
This would give the council the freedom to waive that rent if they wanted to.
But it would give them the freedom also to charge me a butt ton
Yeah,
if I'm
that's-
growing huge and I
mean,
would need a different building.
It is flexible for both sides. It could be bad, it could be good, but it's left flexible for that intended purpose. And again, this isn't just for you, this is for the other two tenants as well.
I would assume as a business owner, they would want to know those terms too.
Yeah, Jessica, is there, I mean, I think that I don't know if we need to do a vote or anything like that. I think the rest of the council will be okay on us having at least like a minimum so that the business owner knows we're not going to go out there and charge them $100,000 to leave early. Something ridiculous. So have something in there in writing that says, you know, the maximum amount that could be charged is blah, 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 you know, but the actual amount will be pending council decision.
Yeah, I'm leaving finances entirely up to you all, so whatever you want to, if you guys want to have a max or a minimum in there, that's entirely up to you. I'm not plugging any of that in, that's your decision.
Okay.
I like that a lot.
But
Like,
shouldn't there
so I
be
would
a-
know this is the max I pay.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
there be a safety net though for the for the leasee
Right.
too?
Yeah,
I
That's
mean,
what we're saying is.
well, no, you're saying for the city, but you're not really protecting. This isn't really protecting the leasee.
Right.
I mean, we could come say, oh, we're done in 180 days, and then she's got to find a new. I mean, I know it's not meant to be sneaky, but to me, just reading it, it kind of seems
Let's talk about it.
not
Let's
really.
talk about it.
Okay.
Which this is written as an agreement, so both parties have to.
I know,
agree to
but
it. So
what-
it can't
I mean-
be unilateral.
Okay, I know, but we could tell her, we could give the 180 days notice.
You could make it unilateral if you want to. That's not how it was written, but it
Okay,
could
but I
be
know,
in theory.
I feel like if I was signing this, I would feel pretty shaky on that section.
That's why I came to talk, because the current way it sits right now, I'm still not comfortable signing this.
So why do we think we actually need any kind of termination? I mean,
If we're signing the lease,
in other words, if you're paid up, you know, to your last day, why does the city need extra number of months of rent from a tenant that's going to go do something else? I mean, we're not in this necessarily as a money making. I mean, if I'm a commercial landlord, I can see that.
Because you're trying to discourage that, I can see that, yeah, that leaving, jumping on us where this is.
Well, this
a little
is,
different. Yeah.
it's different because this business either didn't make it,
Yeah, I
you
get
can't make it, or they need to go to a different space, which is good too. And then it opens it up for another business to use.
Right, we have 6 months in advance of.
So I just personally don't see the need to have any kind of termination other than the notification piece and some kind of just
Yeah.
ending date agreement, and then it's over. Zero incremental cost.
As long as they're-
I vote yes.
Yeah, I mean, that protects the tenants as much as we could
Yeah,
possibly.
I can see that and understand that, but I don't like the what if this to death, but what if that individual goes through and goes, hey, I'm gonna give you 180 days, notice I'm terminating, but in that 180 days, I make over $100,000 and don't pay the city rent, don't do anything.
Well, no, they're paying the
they
rent.
would still pay rent if
Yeah,
she
they're
says
pay-
she's
they would
leaving.
be
If
paying
she's
rent all the
180
way
days
through.
it's like, I'm paying you for the next 6 months and then no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just got to give 180 days notice that she's leaving.
I mean, am I missing anything? Is there, I mean, we need to make this as tenant, favorable that doesn't put an undue burden on the city, which, we got to make this to where they want to renew the lease anyway. So I don't think we need that in there, other than notification and then
Yeah.
no, there is no ongoing
So how do you want to write, because I know that was a concern in some of the prior leases and other contracts that we've signed, that there were no early termination clauses. So I tried to make it to where this could be mutual. It could come from either side. Do you still want it to be mutual coming from either side, or do you want it tenant only? Because in that case, as the landlord for the city of Baldwin, if we ever do need that space for
Right.
something else and we are not able to get property, which is a very real concern,
Right.
based on our budget and the current property availability in Baldwin, which I would see improving in the next
Right.
5 years. If we needed that building back, we would be stuck in that lease until the end of it, and we would not be able to get another building, and we would have to pass that extra expense to taxpayers to get
No, I
property
think that
built.
is the
Do you get what
one
I'm
case,
saying?
yeah, for that one particular building of the three.
Yeah, so my advice would be to allow
Well,
the city to also terminate as well if we need to,
I think it should.
with some form of notice.
I don't know how you could plan a business with a early termination clause in there of what, 180 days?
Which is why I put by agreement.
But,
Yeah.
But
if they don't agree, but if
we
they,
never agreed
they
to.
don't agree to that, we're still stuck. So I would prefer to handle that with the lease term, right? If we're concerned about, hey, we don't know if we're going to need it, then I don't think 5 years makes sense. Maybe it's 3. And if the city can't plan far enough ahead that you can't, we'll be somewhere in the middle of a 3-year lease, then they probably shouldn't be even leasing this stuff out. So I'd rather handle it with a shorter lease, but I don't think anyone has any idea when, if it would ever need that. But to your point, you need to make it to where if you do, you do. So, rather than saying we could terminate you with a 12 months notice, I wouldn't accept that as a tenant that maybe needed to make some investments in the space. So,
Julie, what were you going to say? You were going to comment something?
I think it'd be good for both sides to have the termination clause. If you're gonna leave it in there, if you're gonna take it out, then it doesn't really make any difference. But I think it should be for both the tenant and the landlord, so that each person is
Yeah.
covered.
No, but I feel like if you keep it in there though, then we could just make something up and say, oh, we need the building, and then
Right,
After
Kick her out.
but then your tenant would say, I don't agree, I want to stay for the lease, and you don't have an agreement, in which case the
so if
lease
but-
would
okay,
continue.
but then why do we even have it if she's
Right.
not going to agree to it? Then we don't
Oh,
need it.
Is that
Right.
what you guys keep saying? I could say, if you guys say,
that's what it says.
That's what.
Right,
So,
that's
then
what
I
it
could tell you
says.
guys no?
so why do
Correct.
we? So
I agree.
That's a
There's
negotiation.
nothing to it. And where it would have teeth if it was a 3.
well, I mean, if she says no, it doesn't matter. If she signs a 5-year lease, then it doesn't.
Then we would be
matter.
stuck in the contract for 5
Yeah, if we sign this lease, we're stuck for 5 years because
Yeah.
if her business is successful, she's not going to just give
Right.
up the space.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we need an early termination clause.
then once we're done,
Well, I think unless the tenant wants to leave early.
Well, let's think about that. They're paid up on their rent. Do we need that next 6 months? I mean, they're going to pay it up as long as they need to have that building, and then they're going to walk away. And I don't know. I'm just thinking too simplistically. I just don't think we need that next month when they may not be in the building of them paying rent. What's the downside?
Well, and I know I don't have a vote in this per se, it's the council's decision, but I still would like to see something that protects the city side, that if we have to, we can say, we're out, we're done.
but no one's going to run a business like that.
Yeah.
Well, I just think trying to look from the city side.
Well, then it makes us look like a shady landlord.
But we're not we're not the typical landlord. We are,
But we're in the leasing business, so we are a
I
landlord.
know, we're in the leasing business.
Sometimes you're a typical landlord and sometimes you're a city.
So
I have a hard time figuring out what you guys are. It depends on what you're talking about. So honestly, if we could just agree, you guys are my landlords.
I mean, that's the role we're in. I mean, I would be comfortable in protecting ourselves with a 3-year lease, 3-year leases. I mean, it's better than an early termination clause.
Yeah, but we just had a sit-down meeting and we discussed it and I worked on a 5-year plan, and if I'm going to grow the business, or if I'm going to increase the rent to what you guys are wanting it to get to eventually, I have to grow the business. I can't pay that much in alcohol alone. Okay, so I have to invest money into a kitchen. One, not gonna do that if we only have a 3-year lease term. That would be a silly idea to drop $20,000 just to be gone in 3 years. But I can't just raise the price of liquor and expect people to pay that either. And I mean, what else are you gonna do in that space? All I can do is add a kitchen.
So let's talk about that real quick. I'm concerned about that business plan. And you made it very clear that you need that
Yep.
kitchen to pay any increase in rent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need it if we kept everything the same. I do need it if
So-
we're gonna increase.
Right. So my concern is there is, I mean, do you have an engineering plan? Do you have plans that have been approved by the city? And so we don't even know if it's feasible to put a kitchen that you want to put in there.
Yes, so I met with Pat, and I met with, Cisco is a food rep, and they have a company that they use to build out. I sent this to Julie. It was supposed to be on the agenda for you guys all to look at, but I was told to hold off until we figured out the lease agreement. My plan is a solid plan. It shows, Julie, did you share that by chance?
I have no idea where it is.
Okay, I can send it to you guys. So it's a plan that shows the current building, it shows the demolition plan, which is just that one half wall, and it shows a layout of here's where we're gonna put our prep station, here's where we're gonna put this. Now, this was phase 1. Phase 2 has to go with the health department. The health department has to tell me, you can use this equipment, you can't use. You have to have this, you have to have that. Met with Russ. He's got a concern about the smoker. So got to look into that a little bit more. But the smoker we purchased from the Dance Academy. They had it outside. They used it for all their events. It's a commercial smoker. It's good. It's decent. We just have to find the right location for it. And the property lines where ours ends. So that's something I would just have to get with the city on. But yeah, it's a pretty solid plan, and I'd be happy to send it to you.
No, I'm not an engineer. I don't know the codes. I mean, solid plan. I'm sure it looks great. My point is, that if I'm you and I need this to be viable, and I'm signing a lease, I'm going to sign a lease that's going to require more rent, and I need that, and I don't have it figured out down to everybody's blessed it already, then what happens if you run into something that, ooh, didn't think about talking about this, that, and now you can't add it. Now you're in a serious situation.
That's where that 180 days comes in.
Okay.
I mean, because I can grow the business to a certain point, and then you stop growing, and if your prices go up, you got to let the building go.
That's fair, since we did away with the early termination. That helps
I mean,
that.
but it is
That's my concern is there's a lot of things that go into putting something in that real tight space back there. I mean, there's not much.
I know. I don't want to sit here and give you guys my background, but most of you know I have done this now 3 times, 4 if you count the building that burned down and I redid it. So I'm not just doing this on a whim, saying,
Right.
hey, I've done the research. I do have an engineering company that came in, built out a plan for me.
So I just don't want it to come back on the city. You run into something where there's a city code that it's not meeting, and therefore it's a dead end. You come back to the city and say, well, you're keeping me from being a viable business. I just want to make sure that you know you can be before you move forward.
Yep.
That's my biggest concern is there something pops up that you should have looked at and didn't, and now we're the bad guys because we're saying no because it doesn't meet a code.
Well, I already had a kitchen in the bullpen with half the space, but I've got to update the electrical in order for that to work. So I know I can do it.
I hope it works. I just want to kind of get it out there that that's a concern, is that it's far from being done. As you know, by doing these things, there's all kinds of issues that pop up. So I just wanted to get out there.
I do have a backup plan too, which I've only shared with Russ, and I do not want to share it yet.
That's fine. Anything else that you saw on the?
Let me just look through the rest of the pages. On section 27, notices, the very last paragraph, the city shall provide tenant notice of any intent to sell the building. Tenant must follow city codes, with the property by. Can we put a time frame in there on when you guys are going to, like the 180 days? You guys would give me notice if you're planning on selling the building? Or is that just gonna be at the end of lease?
Yeah, it would have to be without
Okay.
an early termination clause.
Well, yeah, the intent to sell the building, would be whatever the city code is on how we go about selling building. When we give notice to the public, you would be getting notice at the same time.
It was just a note I had, like, would I get notice of this?
Like, we can't cheat and give you notice before the public.
It'd be a
You'd getting
public- a
notice
public
at the same
notice.
time as the public.
But I'd also, how soon do you guys give public notice that? 30 days, 60 days?
In theory, if the city council would have to approve selling any business, so it would be public notice, because the council would have to discuss it, vote on it, and approve it.
If we don't have an early termination clause, we really
Couldn't sell it.
we couldn't
5-year lease.
sell it until the end of the 3 or 5 year, whatever.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay, it was just a note I made.
And then when
Everything
we're done
else,
with this, can we talk about selling the buildings?
oh, no. Guys,
It's not, no, it won't give you.
fair.
I mean, it's not-
It won't give you a headache.
we need to get-
It won't give you a headache. I promise.
I'm just saying, if you guys lose control of those buildings, you guys could go back and have empty buildings in downtown.
Yeah, maybe not.
It's not, just
Oh, come on.
listen.
We were there 5 years ago.
Idea.
Now, so, yeah, we can talk about that, I guess. So I'd like to move forward at some point, at least if we don't have a deadline here, we're just gonna fill the space of no deadline. But I know there's a lot, it's a new lease. I know we're still wrestling with what's the fair amount for a lease per square foot, that type of thing, make it equitable across our 3 leases. You are the first leased up, that's why you're kind of taking the brunt of helping figure this out. But I think Russ had a good idea in my conversation with him that makes a lot of sense, that, we can co-term these leases. In other words, the next one up expires
At the end of July.
into July. So we could actually continue our other leases, well, this is the one that's up, continue current lease until the end of July, and then a new lease that we would have offered, you can either sign or not sign, that would be coming in effect at the end. At the same time, and then when the other
All 3 leases.
all
would
3 leases,
expire.
and then when the next one comes up, we just keep their lease the same until July, and they get on the new lease. So then it's once a year. Any changes are made for all 3 tenants at the same time. We'll get all their input at the same time. One group doesn't have to lead the charge. So I think it just makes it easier for the city to manage it that way. And I think it'd be easily doable because we kind of pushed this one out far enough that we're not far away from the next one.
Well, and if we're sitting there talking about fairness between all the different places, then, it would be easier for the public, because that's who we're also, accountable to see we're being fair across the board on all 3 of these, because it's all in the same meeting, so.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that would give some more time, and I hate to kick the can down the road or whatever you said, Mayor, about death of a thousand cuts, but I think there's reasons to do this.
No, I agree.
I think it gives
Puts it all in the same
you
category.
more time to think about that expansion plan and have more confidence in it for when we do, and in the next meetings, we need to start talking about what the rates need to be, right? And that's going to be the big issue, right? Is what are we going to need the rates to be? And the lease, it will look the same. We're just plugging in the numbers now, because really what matters are the numbers.
The 3rd lease is next July 2027, right? The 3rd one that's up?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's at the end of 27. I want to say November of 27.
Can I just have the same lease until November of 2027? Okay.
I'm not, personally, no.
They'd all be up at the same time.
I know. And then I think we could also, and I don't know, are you looking into appraisals?
Yeah, so I've reached out to numerous appraisal companies to get them to do. I visited with one in Lawrence. They're roughly 3 to 4 weeks out on doing a fair market rental analysis to tell us actually what the property is worth. In speaking with them, they have done something similar for the city of Lawrence and some other municipalities around the state. I'm just waiting on those to come back.
So just give us another data point that we don't currently have. If we delay this out until July.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Besides, I kind of like having Corey sitting out there and not up here, so it'd be. But it just made sense when you said that, as far as just do this once every 3 to 5 years or whatever. And even if they're not termed the same number of years, they would term at least on the same date.
Yes.
Every year.
So are we still doing the square footage thing if you guys are appraising each building? Because it's going to appraise differently for each one.
That's what the appraiser's going to tell us. I'm not an appraiser. I don't know how they do that. And we're just guessing. We have no idea.
Okay.
So we may be grossly overcharging. And then that would be a great negotiating point for our tenants.
That said in mind, we could also be grossly undercharging.
There's the other way of it.
Yeah, 48 cents a
So,
square foot is-
but I think just having information is not a bad thing. Either way.
Oh, yeah, I told them that's fine. I said, I'll give you a key. Come in whenever you want. You guys don't come into the building very often. It's a small, tiny little building.
Been in there.
No,
Okay.
we do need a key. We should have a key.
Yeah, we had to change the locks. The police department, fire department all have one. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, well, even if he had one, it would be the old one because I had to change the locks when someone broke in.
Yeah, no, landlord should always have a key, just in case for emergency purposes if
Yeah,
we need to enter.
I can
Yeah,
bring one down
we need a
anytime.
key.
So could we set an arbitrary deadline to have this changed and kind of finalized after feedback from all of our tenants that had a chance to look at it? And then come up with the rates and what we're going to charge by, I'd say mid-June, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd like to have the agreement finalized come our next meeting. I think
Just the word.
just the word,
Okay.
just the words.
That makes sense, yeah.
We can do that,
Come
yeah.
up with
Yeah.
the template.
Have the template already in place, and then we're just waiting on the appraisal to come back, and then we can go from there to help finalize those numbers.
Right.
I think that, realistically, we should have those numbers before the first meeting in June.
Okay. So we set a goal for mid-June to have the offer, the lease offer out to the tenants. Then that would theoretically give them, and let's talk about her currently, so have to renew it through the end of July.
Correct.
So that would actually give you through the end of July plus 30 days to vacate?
No. I mean, you would be relying on common law. If we don't give her a notice to vacate at the 1st of July, then, I mean, in theory, yes, you could give her the month.
No, I got you. That's fine. That's why I
Right,
wanted to
right.
do it before July.
Right. Your lease terminates on that date, and you're supposed to vacate at the end of your lease. If you
Okay.
don't vacate, then, I mean, you're relying on common law. I have to send you a notice to vacate and go through the eviction process if you don't vacate by the end of the month. So, I mean, in theory, yes, you could do it that way, but,
So mid-June or
I would say we would have it mid-June for sure.
second meeting, when is it?
Well, that'd be the third Tuesday, so hopefully we can have these numbers before the last meeting in May.
Okay.
If we can have the numbers from the appraisal company by then, then we could make some decisions that first meeting in June. And then that way, the next day, we can send those out like as formal offers to the tenants.
Thoughts on that? So we'd have to renew the current lease through end of June?
Through the end of July.
July 31st, yeah.
I don't have any words anymore.
I mean,
I know.
we
we're
could throw
just-
something at you right now and without having some information to base it on. And
This is very difficult. The unknown is very difficult. And the changing and it's a lot.
Our intentions are not to make it difficult, Nikki, please understand that. And I could sense your frustration and could basically see where you're coming from. You're saying, well, all these different things, but I think what we're trying to do, quite honestly, is kind of clean up and standardize our leases with everybody, trying to get everything basically compartmentalized on leases, when they come due, how they're gonna come due, what they're gonna say and what they're not gonna say, instead of being so ambiguous and kind of, well, this person says that, well, what does that really mean? So and I'm sorry, you're the first one out.
I know.
It is. And I understand your
you've
frustration.
got the unique building.
Yeah.
That's the other issue.
Yeah.
It's not like the other two.
I know.
We can't fix that. So,
And I'm not saying it's dirty, but I feel like with the appraisal, it's gonna price her out.
we don't have to follow the appraisal. We just make a decision based on information that we have.
I talked to an appraisal too. I actually think the opposite though.
Okay.
I have no idea. I really
don't either.
don't.
Yeah,
I'll have to see what it comes in.
based on location, I know it's in downtown, but it's not an idea. I talked to Brad at the appraisal's office and, they had it priced more originally, and so he was gonna actually, can you call Brad from the county appraiser's office? He'll come out and do it.
I'd prefer that we have a professional service like Russ has reached out that deals with this every single day, and this is their job, their responsibility. And I would feel more comfortable with them as opposed to just having someone walk through the door and go, this is this much, and it's not that much. That's me personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's a third party appraisal,
Correct.
and then
Impartial.
there's true separation between the county and the city, and that way there can, it draws those lines.
Okay.
So
Well, then it might,
we need to make a motion to extend the,
because they tend to go higher.
Yes, the council someone would need to make a motion to extend it to July 31st of 2026 under the same conditions she's already signed. I would need approval from the council, correct?
so I move that we extend the current lease for the bullpen at the same terms to the end of July of 2026.
I second it.
Julie?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes?
Yes.
Jay? Motion passes. Any nays? Nope. Carried. Motion passed.
But I also feel like, I know can we still discuss this even though we've passed that?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
It's
So,
our time. We can talk about it.
no, this is me talking to them.
Before you start that, I'd just like to make it clear that this should be the last extension of the lease.
Well,
I mean, we can't keep going on
that's the
like
goal.
this. I know.
just trying to make it
I'm just
right.
making my point.
I know. I think we all share that.
Okay.
I wish we didn't have to do this either. We don't have to do this. We could say, you've got a lease offer in front of you, take it or leave it.
Yeah, I know.
Or we could put the leasing abilities back in the city manager hands, but it's just an option.
Jay, what were you going to say to this lead off?
I feel like with us doing the appraisal and everything,
You can come up on this one, Corey. This deals with, wouldn't you? City, yeah.
Or just the selling of the property.
I mean, if you're talking in general terms, I think you're fine, but yeah, anything specific is a little faux pas, yeah.
I'm sorry, Jay, I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. I just feel like with the appraisals and everything, I feel like we're trying to recoup money that we lost in the last 5 years lease. And I feel like I feel like any business that was in there would be pricing out the current deal. So, and it's not necessarily the bullpen, but if anyone was in there, you know, and their business plan was this, and they were expecting this rent, and then now we've said, oh, well, that's not enough. And I know you can do that as a landowner, but it comes to my other argument that we should not be in the leasing business at all as the city. And I think we should sell those buildings. Now, what I would say if we were going to sell them is we don't sell them until the current tenants leave. Because this is just getting ugly from both sides, and I don't think we should be the ones in the leasing business. I don't think we should sell it from underneath the EDC. I don't think we should sell it from underneath the bullpen or the ice cream shop, but I think we need, as a city, we need to wipe our hands clean of the leasing business because it's too complicated, and that's not what we are here to do, is be in the leasing business. That's just my personal opinion, but I wouldn't sell the buildings and kick anyone out. That wouldn't be my intention at all. My intention would be like, if Nikki finds a new place or whatever, and that current tenant is out, then we sell the building and we don't look at a new tenant.
Or you could retain the building.
Retain it, yeah.
Well, I think we should sell it because we need money in the general fund, and that would be great. And I know some other people want to do some other things with that building, but we're not financially in the position to be doing anything to that building. And it would make more sense to sell the building and put it in the general fund. So, I mean, I know there's ideas out there for what they would want to do with the building, which, whatever, but I don't think that would be the right steps to take. And if we're looking at expanding or whatever, 10 years down the road or whatever, then we need to cross that in 10 years. And we have a public works building that we could add on to if that was the case, if we really needed extra space first, and move City Hall out there, sell the whole building and build you a new little section at the Public Works Department and make that our whole city spot. I think we're being kind of short-sighted when it comes to oh, we need the space. Well, no, we don't need the space right now. And I don't think we're going to need the space in 5 years. I don't think we're going to need the space in 7 years. So I would rather sell the buildings, put it in the general fund, help that. We're obviously needing to put money in the general fund. And with the sale of those buildings, we might be able to put a little, I don't know if we could, I don't know, budget finance people, you can tell me if what I'm thinking is right or not. But then we could also that could help lower utility rates a little bit. If we have money we could put into the reserves there. No, it all has to go in the general fund. But if our general fund's more healthy, then, you know, we could help with the Public Works Department if we need to buy something or, you know, to help. The leasing business to me is not where the city needs to be. That's just my personal opinion. And I would want to sell the buildings, all of them. And it wouldn't be to kick anyone out. That's not my goal. It's when the current tenant leaves and we don't find a new tenant.
I get that sentiment, I really do. And I didn't run for city council to manage properties or get in the weeds on these little details of contracts and all that. I ran to make big picture decisions for Baldwin and help with that. So I get it. I don't know that establishing a policy now to make a decision when leases expire in the future really matters. I think if the lease expires and you as a council decide you need the space or you need the general fund help, then make that decision then. I don't think we need to make any declaration right now. We don't like being in the leasing business, but we're in it. Mm-hmm. We already know what you're going to do about it. So we're in it. This is the problem in our hands, and I don't know that making any kind of declaration now does any good at all. I think you got to make your adjustments through attrition.
Peter?
I mean, and I'm not trying to be mean or derogatory, but would you like to see a vape shop right there at the water fountain. Because if we open it up to whoever wants to buy it, then that would be the reality. I mean, right now, at least there's some control over, what ends up down there. And it's a glorified tractor shed basically, but,
No business besides that is gonna go in there. A vape shop's not gonna go in there. It won't meet code. So,
Somebody could buy it and make it make code.
they do a lot of improvements.
Somebody might want to. That's an awesome location.
I mean, the ice cream shop doesn't even take their trash out. They just put it on the side of on the sidewalk.
Scott, what's your opinion?
I also do not enjoy being in the leasing business. So I think we're spending some cycles here to try to make it easier for future councils. And I agree with you. I mean, this is not a decision, to Corey's point, that we need to legislate.
Well, I'm not saying make a declaration.
Right. Well, yeah. So unless something comes up in the next year and a half, very likely it would be different people sitting here, some of us. So it's what we think as a group doesn't really matter until it happens. I share your sentiment. I don't know that I would want to make a move on any of the properties other than the city hall if we needed it for some unforeseen reason, which I can't fathom right now. The natural point is if they vacate, then whoever's on the council decide, well, do you want to try to lease it to somebody else or do you want to sell it? And that'll be their decision. Whoever that is, it might be some of you still here, but I think we're just trying to get this to a point where it's past us, and then future iterations have a little bit easier time and renewing if that's what it was. And if these businesses stay in there, great, unless we need it. And then we have to think about the contingency plan on the city. And that's why I proposed a shorter lease would be the only way we could really control that. Other than you'd have to just say, okay, I can't imagine necessarily an issue where we'd need it so quickly that we couldn't wait a couple years. I mean, if we built something, we'd certainly be 2-3 years out anyway. I mean, so if there's something coming down that the city needs to expand for whatever reason, then I guess we just have to have the conversation. Is a 5-year okay, or is this 3 years something we need? But I agree with you. I wouldn't want to boot anybody out of any of those spaces. And I would let whatever council's in place at the time when the leases do expire or are not renewed, then let them make that decision.
Julie?
I agree.
I discussed with Jay before. I agree that we don't need to be in the leasing business. I'm with him on that. I'm just not committed right now as a mayor to want to say, hey, in 5 years, we'll want to get rid of that building and sell it out. I think, just to your point, we let the council and mayor at that time decide how they want to do it. But I certainly support Jay's position of we don't need to be in the leasing business. This has been difficult and kind of hassled for us, but we're working through it. But I can understand Jay's position, but I just don't want to commit the council 5 years, 6 years down the road to something we decide now.
Let me be clear. I would never sell the building to kick a tenant out.
Oh, no, I know that, Jay. I agree with that 100%, Jay. I do, yeah. That's only right. I agree with you, yeah. That's not one of those things where we go, hey, and Nikki, I'm sorry, I'm gonna use you as an example. Hey, you know what, Nikki, we want this building, you're out. No, it goes till the end of the lease. Because he's right. I don't think it's fair to go through and kick anyone out, so. Discussion, anything else? Okay, then we'll move on to the new business where we have to go through and appoint a Recreation Commission board position. Russ, you want to talk about that?
So we have a position, one of them that we appoint as the council does. They have put that out for applications. They're currently asking for applications for the position that the city appoints. So we need to, that committee that interviews is the mayor, city clerk, city administrator, and another council member. So we need to determine tonight who of the 5 of you is going to be on that interview committee. And that will be coming up in May, probably mid-May, to the end of May is when those interview process would start. But I wanted to go ahead and get this on the agenda. That way we can have it all figured out so that when the time comes and we start getting applications, we can go ahead and start scheduling the meetings around everybody's schedules.
This is one of the times I'm happy to be mayor because I don't have to deal with that.
You're on it already.
I know. But I don't have to decide between you five who wants to do it.
It's between these four. I can't do it.
We've done this before.
Yeah.
Correct.
Who was the council member before?
I did the last library,
So-
last two library ones.
Yes.
We didn't do one for the last rec appointment? We had this,
You've done
I'll
your
do it.
terms.
Yeah, volunteer.
We had, any of y'all can volunteer. It doesn't really necessarily matter because in the ordinance, we didn't specify
Thank you, Julie.
area that it had to.
Julie's gonna do it.
okay, I just, sounds good. I just want to clarify just for the policy itself. So,
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's according to ordinance 1528.
yeah, there was an ordinance, yeah.
Yes.
That's what I remember. Okay,
Sure.
So I nominate Julie.
second.
I already volunteered.
We need a motion.
We need a motion.
All right.
We good with that?
We got a second.
All right, do I need roll call?
No, I think just
Nope.
voice vote.
We're good.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Next one is council committee reports. Scott?
Okay, I'll make this quick as possible. So we talked about bond rating decrease issue, and the big thing was we got to have a plan to get the general fund reserve back, and we'll be talking about that in our budget, 2027 budget conversations. Jeff talked about the electric capacity issue plan that he discussed with the council. The Budget and Finance Committee talked about ways we might be able to fund the acquisition this year out of this year's budget. And then the installation piece would be somewhere down the road. So there's ways to do that. We were talking about that, but I think what we need to do is get this on the agenda for the council to decide if that's what they want him to go try to do to get one or two of those generators he talked about. We got to give him approval to go negotiate that, and we haven't. So he really doesn't know where we stand. So I think if we can get this on the agenda next time, Russ, I think we can come forward with a plan of how we would fund those in this year's budget and next year's budget, so that as you make a decision whether to give him authority, then we would kind of know how it would happen. So we discussed that, and we'll put it on the agenda again to come up with a theoretical plan of how we would pay for these things.
Just to let you know, Jeff is still talking with people if they're going to be available or not. So
So we can't control that, but if we need to give him authority to go tell that
Right, if they
we're
do.
interested, to say we'll take one or two if they don't sell them all. So we need to do that sooner as opposed to later. The third thing was the city property options discussion. We went through that enough. We don't need to rehash that. Then the budget planning schedule, roughly, we talked about that. May 5th, Council Information Center session. June 23rd would be a budget workshop. July 7th would be the revenue neutral resolution that we need to make, whether we're going to be revenue neutral or not. And then September 1 would be the revenue neutral hearing. So tentatively, those are what we have scheduled going forward. That was it. Next meeting is not Friday, it's Monday at 9 a.m., second floor of City Hall.
Good. Thank you, Scott.
when was the workshop going to be?
Workshop is going to be Information Center, a session May 5th, and then the budget workshop June 23rd.
Clarification real quick from the Budget Committee. Did the revenue neutral conversation, was that forecasted in the 2027 forecast?
I think that's part of what they go out to all the directors with, with that in
Right.
mind is,
I'm sorry, I meant the end of 2026, what Matt was talking about.
what was your question again?
Revenue neutral, what was the answer in his forecast to the whether or not we go revenue neutral or not? What direction did he go when he's
No,
determining his
it's-
forecast?
It's, yeah, I don't know that it was ever going to be possible. Because our salaries, our health insurance, I mean, our benefits and wages. So, I mean, there's 5% plus whatever insurance. I mean, to go revenue neutral, as we know every year, we would have to make some substantial cuts.
Oh, yeah.
If we wanted to retain the services or retain paying our people what we pay them without reducing headcount.
But you don't have to go all in, and you don't have to. It doesn't have to be dichotomous. I mean, you can go a little bit. You can. It's a scale. As far as yes or no, you're going. It is.
Right.
Yes or no, you're going revenue neutral, but how much? There is
Revenue neutral is like whatever.
how much assessed value are you going to accept? You can set that number. It's either accept it all or nothing.
My understanding is
last year, I thought.
My understanding is the revenue that we took last year, we can't exceed that next year. So think about it this way: if the assessed valuation goes up at all, the revenue is going to be higher. We can't take
Correct. Which is that's how the mill levy can be impacted by.
Right. Well, no. I mean, we really couldn't change the mill levy because that would generate more revenue on a lower. So it's really
But answer it reverse. If you adjust the revenue, it will affect the mill levy.
yes,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, it would go down. Yeah.
And Scott, when did you say the first budget?
The council information session's May 5th, and Baker Tilly will kind of lead that, kind of talk through all the issues, what we need to be thinking about, what levers we can pull. And then the workshop is tentatively June 23rd. Is that a council meeting date? We were going to do that like an hour before the council, or was that the May 5th one?
I think we were gonna do, the May 5th one is before the council, and then the 23rd is
Separate.
it's a whole separate one, and that's the 4th Tuesday of June.
So we'll do the hour information session. I guess that's the next meeting,
Correct.
like at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
And then we'll have a separate hour and a half work session on the June 23rd.
At all?
Did I answer your question?
I thought I remembered it that, it's yes. You by that date you have to answer whether you are or whether you aren't. But after that, you can vary how much you accept of the assessed valuation. You could accept 90% of it. You could accept 95% of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
You're correct.
So what I was asking is what did Matt have plugged in the
So, like,
scenario?
if you tell them you don't accept revenue neutral, usually what most cities will do is they'll say they're not going to go revenue neutral until they work through the whole process, and then to Corey's point, you could do like
see what you're
70
saying.
years.
I worded it.
You could still be revenue neutral even though you said you weren't going to be.
Exactly. Yes.
How much-
Yes. Correct.
Pretty sure we did.
We got there. We got there.
We did that last year. Close to it.
It was 2 years ago that we had talked about possibly not, and I don't remember what the scenario was, but not accepting the entire portion of it.
Right.
But back to my point, I was wondering in Matt's forecast, because we brought up the reserve for the general fund. Does he have plugged in that we accept all of it in his forecast?
I think so.
Okay, okay.
I want to say that he is accepting.
I wanted to know where his starting point was, and then
We won't know what that
trying
is.
to find wiggle room.
That's why the workshop's the 23rd, because we get that
Yeah, right.
June 15th.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So we only know what that number is for assessed valuation. We won't know what that is till mid-June.
Right. Yeah.
So then once we know it, we'll have that workshop and say, well, here's what it would be if we took it all.
But you guys are going to have your, I keep going back to this, I'm sorry, but you guys are going to have your budget meeting where he's going to have a forecast for you
Yeah.
before then.
Yeah.
So in his forecast then, what will he be plugging in for his assessed value?
Well, his forecast can be for the rest of this year is what he promised to forecast.
Right.
That has nothing to do with what we're going to accept for 2027.
His forecast
Right.
is only through
Right.
the end of the
That's
year.
true.
It's not for
That's true.
27.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Answered?
Yep.
Well, you're up next, community development.
Good one, Matt. And mine's really short. We meet, Peter kind of talked a little bit. So our it's late, is it Memorial Day weekend?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the next scheduled.
That's the Monday,
Yeah.
so it's Memorial Day. We won't be doing that. So when would work for you? Do you wanna chat in the background and
Yeah.
then kind of set another date and give them a heads up? Okay, all right.
To be determined? Okay. Public safety, Jay?
We're meeting next Thursday at 9 a.m. at second floor City Hall. We had to move it because some city workers that would be there had something going on. So next Thursday.
Thank you, sir. Public Works Utilities, Julie?
Yeah, you'll all be happy that I have a short one this time.
We'll see.
A new employee has been hired in the Public Works Department, and the seasonal work is being covered for the summer. Soon they'll be prepping the pool to fill, and the new chlorine injection system will be online at that time. They ordered 50 tons of de-icing salt for the 26-27 season. Common consumption signs and new tip-out barricades are in. They installed 4 new water services, and the Evergy crews have the first half of the solar array repowered with new inverters. It is only producing from the half of the site with the old inverters. The new Evergy meter relocation went well, and with total time of disconnect was around 9 hours. Next meeting is May 14th at 9 o'clock at the Public Works Building.
Nice.
Short and sweet,
Concise,
right?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Strategic planning, Scott?
We have not met, and we don't currently have anything on the calendar.
Thank you. Lake Advisory?
We have not met since the last meeting in April, and we'll have to move our next meeting due to the next workshop before the council meeting. So I'll have to get back to you guys on that one.
Yeah,
To be determined.
we had talked about maybe moving it out a little bit until we hear about the other,
Yeah. Yeah, I figured.
the other grants.
Okay. So I'll talk with Julie, and then we'll come up with the date. So.
Sounds good.
Good. Thank you. Russ?
I don't have any comments, but I know Rob has some comments tonight.
Mr. Cully? We recognize you. Come on up, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and Council. I know it's been a lengthy meeting, so I'll be brief. I have a letter that I would like to share with the council this evening. This one is a little bit bittersweet because it's a letter from myself to the city administrator. And so I'll read it to you. It's just, Dear Mr. Harding, so after careful consideration and planning, I believe the time is right for me to transition into the next chapter of my life. Please accept this letter as my formal notification of retirement from my position as Director of Public Works with the City of Baldwin City. My official retirement date will be August 1st, 2026, and my last day in the office will be July 24th of 2026. I'm truly grateful to the City of Baldwin for the opportunities I've been given during my 38 years of service here. I've worked with some very talented and dedicated individuals and take a lot of pride in the accomplishments that we've achieved together. As I prepare to retire, I'm committed to ensuring the smoothest transition possible. I'd like to give my highest recommendation to Kevin Watts as my successor. Kevin's been with the company for 35 years. Is currently serving as the Assistant Director of Public Works. He has the experience and working knowledge necessary to manage the department effectively. Once again, I want to thank you and the City of Baldwin for allowing me to be a part of the team and to build a lifelong career in the town I call home. I would just real quickly like to follow up by saying if there's ever an opportunity to serve on one of our committees as maybe an at-large member, that's something I would certainly be willing to do. Baldwin has been very good to me, and at some point I would like to give some back.
Thank you for 38 years, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
And congratulations.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, I just wanted to say I've worked with you the past 6.5 years. You've been nothing but a professional, And, you know, your fingerprints are all over the high quality of life in this city. So that's a heck of a legacy to have. You should be proud.
Thank you. Thank you all. I mean, you all played a part in supporting us and myself and the different departments over the years, and we do appreciate that.
I would also say thank you, because without you, I couldn't have gotten through this.
Okay?
Thanks.
You bet.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
Russ.
Counselor, you have anything?
Just new laws are starting to be analyzed. There's legislative updates that are starting to happen. I have one with the Kansas State Bar at the end of the month, so I'll start getting some updates. I know the league is going to be pushing one out soon as well, so I would just encourage y'all to watch your inbox. I know they've been sending out newsletters. I know those are so entertaining for everyone to read.
Do we know where this bill is on the governor's desk? Because when we were at the Kansas League of Municipalities Friday, they were saying it should not vetoed the bill yet on this one we've been worried about with Governor.
So that one, so the tax one that we were worried about, that did not pass. Instead, they passed something, some kind of petition.
So it was House Bill 2043. So it was delivered to the governor's desk yesterday on Monday. My understanding is that she's got 10 days to act on it.
Okay,
So
good.
we should know something by the
But
next
it
council
doesn't have near the teeth that
No,
correct.
the other
it's-
one had.
Yeah, it's nowhere near what it was. It's I don't know what she's gonna do with it, so we'll see.
Thank you.
But yeah, they're starting to pump out some of those legislative updates. I'm assuming the league's probably gonna have a toolkit for everything that affects us like they did with the last one. So we'll just keep an eye out for that.
Good, thank you. Russ, were you done? Did you have any other comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Council, anything? Thank you. Just real quickly, city cleaned up the playground today by the pool. I was very impressed. They were down there working hard to do it. Thank you. It was looking great, and so you know, I called the lady who basically brought up concerns about it, and her words were, "You got on that quickly." Thank you very much. I am going to ask that we start looking at the 300 block of Ames with that abandoned camper, and that van has a flat tire, and the trash on the east side of the building, maybe kind of looking at cleaning it up, trying to get it more presentable, because that's kind of a main thoroughfare through the city. So then this is something we can discuss later. I had a complaint today about leaf burning taking place, and the person's relative was sick and had asthma, and they were very concerned, which I understand that, hey, this leaf burning is still going on. This is an issue. What are you going to do about it? We can discuss that in the future. Food trucks, still don't kind of like to move that ahead, keep that going. We turned around and did a training session in Salina for the Kansas League of Municipalities, and I know it's not as easy as all of you who are working day to day and, you know, doing a living as it is me, who's retired, and Russ is kind of responsibility, but I must admit it was excellent training. Very, very good training. They're having another session up here in Eudora. I guess it's going to be geared a little different, but if I encourage you, if you can make it, it would be good. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against, say no. Meeting adjourned.